You know what it is. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Get established. Let's go.
This is the Get Established Show Live, where we're all about awareness and support of our community, building within and beyond it. My name is Shine, and I'm here with my brothers, Chiller, D. Jones. Please like, share, and subscribe, and smash that like button for our up and coming shows. A link will be provided in the chat, so if you want to join in on the conversation, or if you choose, just comment in the chat. Other than that, roll with it. All right, let me throw out the disclaimer here. The individual opinions expressed on here do not reflect the show as a whole and the goal of joining in and supporting our community. So, with that said, D. Jones,
What's up, fellas?
make it
What it
happen, bruh.
is? What is going on? Chiller.
You, what's up, man?
What's up with you, man? You over there chilling?
Nah,
Chiller is chilling.
yeah, chilling, man. I just tripping, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, your president that came out and said some things, and then China reacted, and now I've been tripping out how people feel, knowing that they've been spending all this money for products that cost them maybe 2, 3 grand. Come find out they got the knockoff, and all they paying for is the foreign name from a country. You know, when you go over there, Italy or something now, China come out and confess, or everything we've been buying is a knockoff product. You know what I'm saying?
Counterfeit. Well, I
Counterfeit,
mean,
but basically, you spending, you better off buying the cheap stuff than buying the expensive stuff. Cause now I understand they say you ain't paying nothing for the name.
what is it?
You spending
And,
3 grand for a name,
and I ain't trying to
literally.
get into this because we got a show to do. But are there levels to the knockoffs? Are there levels to it? Is there
I,
a grade of
I,
knockoff?
I know it's levels to to tax season. I know that much, cause shoot,
Oh
boy,
snap!
I had to do my taxes. I had to do my mom's taxes. Uh, I don't even want to talk about see no more taxes.
He caught up in the tax situation. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. It's all good, man. Let's jump right into it. They Not Like Us Part 3, The Healing Show. It's all about healing, y'all. We got to heal our community. We go through so much trauma um, in the community that we need to talk about this for a second. So I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to address this question. Who are we as black individuals? Chilla, you want to jump on that right there?
Man, that's a very good question because I hear so many things and so many different personalities. First, I'm just gonna acknowledge by this, man. A lot of people would say they're African American, and I think that's because they've been conditioned and indoctrinated to believe that. Um, it's not a nation. See, before we was called African Americans, we were called colored. We were called Afro Americans. We was called black. We was called Negroes. We were called. Some people can't even fathom in their mind before even Negroes. They were called Indians. So it's like when we get to this understanding who we are, most people don't even know that they was the natives of this land. The true when we some I'm gonna say aboriginals. We the aboriginals of this land. Majority of us. We having this stigma in our mind because somebody, a foreigner, has put this in literature and has put these in books and took us through schooling and taught us that we from Africa. Most of us ancestors never even touched the soils of Africa. We was always here. And this is the misconception that people have learned through somebody else telling them their history. I have not found them in my mind yet to see anybody who's melanated from over here can go to Europe and tell them who they are. But you have another person came over here, colonized this soil, put a government on this soil, put a schooling on this soil, and then they tell us who we are. When you got people like Chuck Berry, and if you even watch the movie Cadillac Records, it stated that he said he was Indian. He said, "You don't look like no Indian to me." And I mean, you got people who's like in history that we don't even know, but like Brass Reed, who, like I said, was talking about who the Lone Ranger was basically based on. That when he even beat his slave master, he hid among the Indians, and when they went to find him, they couldn't tell him the difference who he was from an Indian because they look alike. This is where you got somebody who's dictating the mindset of the people through education to believe that we come from somewhere that we didn't come from. And the crazy thing about this is when you say African American, you putting two continents together. When I see Europeans, I don't see them say I'm a European American. When you got Chinese people, they don't say, and they was born in America, they don't say I'm a Chinese American. I mean, we the only people that hold on to a continent where majority of these people never even touched the soil of Africa. They're not even proud of being American. They're not even proud of their ancestors because they've been phantom with the story that history starts with slavery. That's all they know. Their history starts with slavery. But I want y'all to know one thing. Your history doesn't start with slavery. You don't even know that y'all kings and queens. Y'all are greatness. And this is the thing they want to hide from you. If you believe in the devil, this is where the devil come in there right now to confuse you who you are. This is making you delusional to believe in something that people over Africa don't even have ever heard of the story of their ancestors being snatched off the shores and brought over here to America. This continent was full of Asiatic black people. And the problem is we don't know who we are.
Well, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Chris, and I agree with everything that you're saying, but you got to understand the black African American train has taken off. You even when we were growing up, Run DMC had I'm Black and I'm Proud. James Brown prior to our generation, I'm Black and I'm Proud. Then they came out with a whole African American um, thing, because it was Afro American, like you said, but then now it's African American. Even on your job application, they're asking you, you know, what are you? Are you black, white, African American? It's being pushed down your throat. So why would you think you're something other than that? If this is being pushed in your face, we got the Black History Month, we got all these things jumping off to describe our melanated people. Why would you think you're anything other than black?
You're
I
being
mean, there's
indoctrinated.
nothing.
Go ahead,
Go
Ray.
ahead, Sean.
I was well, because of course because of how we've been taught. We don't have anything to designate us through regular known channels, especially by the dominant society, how they've taught us. We don't have any information that they would say is related to more than just like you said. We're of this continent, and are of the natural people that have been here before. So anything can be said to someone that you are, being dominated over. So you're gonna believe what you've been taught. But we're here to start the thinking process on what we who we are, and this show is gonna be that one.
You know what's crazy to me? I think just working with all types of different nationalities, to see people from other countries like Haitian people that look like us, people from Africa that look like us, Cuban people that look like us, Puerto Rican people that look like us, Dominican people that look like us. They always refer to us as black people like we aren't people of color just like they are. And it's almost like we're admitting that we're from a lost land because there is no country called black at the end of the day. And then you have melanated people that look just like you with a sense of pride of where they're from, and they have a sense of history of who they are. But it's like we in America are missing that. And my thing is, how can we heal and move forward if we don't know who we are? How does the healing start? How do we even address it if we have no sense of who we are? And I say that to say that a lot of people know their family tree. A lot of people know from generation to generation where they come from. But they don't acknowledge that because they're still going by the myth of what they're being told they are. How do you feel about that?
I told you they indoctrinated how I feel about it. It's like we're confused. Somebody gave us our history, and they gave us so much more. A lot of time we don't study our own lineage. We don't understand where we come from, and I understand we come from greatness. Somebody try to take that characteristic from us, and they try to blind us with everything else that's not even about it. Just like you said, one of the biggest things in the past was, and you go back to the 1700s, 1800s, it was no such thing as black. We wasn't called by a crayon. We got white. They're not white. We are black. We're not black. So this is like a crayon. And I trip out because there's a gentleman named Taj Bay I used to listen to. He always talk about it. We're not a box of crayons. But this is the stigma that they characteristic us and put us in these categories, and they call us black. And it's sad when you know that black is a status. And I want to understand that black is a status in America because we have dark Asiatic, melanated Africans come over here. And if you look, when they come over here and get citizenship, on their paperwork, it says they are white. Even though they are darker than me, they state on their paperwork they are white. I mean, and people don't catch that because this is something that they classify us. This is a classification by being called black in America, being called African American. And see, most people doesn't even understand that when you call yourself African American, you are calling yourself property of the government. There's no, you don't have a nationality. Most countries, or when you call yourself something, you're back with a nationality. When you call yourself African American in the Constitution, and that's when Jesse Jackson, and I'm gonna still holler that out, Jesse Jackson was campaigning, guiding us, calling us African American, and that's when Bill Clinton signed the bill and it status us as still property of the United States. So then you try to get understanding why when a black man get killed in America with his hands up and it's a white officer murdered this man, he didn't murder a civilian, he destroyed property. He didn't kill a human. He didn't kill a civilian labeled in the Constitution because he goes by the name African American, meaning that he is just property. So you wonder why they don't get life and all this in jail because all they did was destroy some property. Because you took on something that is a fistic, I mean, not even a real, is a character that doesn't even exist. African American is not a nationality. We have a problem calling us somebody that because you think it's cool, but the whole narrative, my grandmama never said she was African American. Her mama never said she was African American. My granddaddy never called himself African American. And the things I heard out their mouth was they was Cherokee Indians. And then on my paperwork, when I look at my birth certificate, and I got the first certificate, it said Negro. It didn't say color. It didn't say African American. It didn't say black. My original birth certificate said Negro. So now you asking how can we get past that? It's because I've been misclassified over time. From even my grandmama and them being misclassified to now, if I even seek my granddaddy who was born somewhere in like 19010 or before because his birth certificate was burned up. They tried to destroy anybody's birth certificates way back in the early 1900s and late 1800s. They tried to burn. It's a lot of places that had the records of who these people were and what they was labeled was burned and destroyed.
That's crazy. The freemen and women were once enslaved by citizens of different Indian tribes, Cherokee, Seminoles, and other tribes, and their descendants, black natives and freemen, are the legacy of our black and native ancestors. So that brings a new meaning. I actually got Indian in my family.
Yeah.
But I will say this before you say that. A lot of times why people went with the nerd calling themselves niggas because a lot of people had never really understood that in the late 1800s and 1900s, when they was coming up with classifications, they was threatening people who was calling themselves Indians or Cherokee and stuff like that, because they was killing certain people. So now you in a city, and back then, to protect their children, they went under the classification of saying they was Negroes. If you look it up, it's very easy for anybody to look up, but they so used to some old teacher telling them some falsehood written back by our ancestors or anybody who was melanated. It was always written by somebody that know more about your ancestors than your own ancestors know, or you knew from your own ancestors. They always could tell you everything about your lineage and where you come from and where you started. And we believe it and feed into the myth. None of this is true. None of this is true. Our education has destroyed, because when we learn about us, we learn about the least of us. They never tell us about the greatness of us. They always make us feel belittled, so they keep us under them. So when anything you heard about us, most of that stuff is not even true. I ain't gonna say it wasn't slavery, but I mean, some of the stuff they telling you is not even accurate. A lot of it is misinformed information. So it's like when we hear these things, they're not even true. Like we are the original people of this land. And the way they take land from us is making us think we somewhere else. We so busy trying to get somewhere else. These people done conquered our land, conquered our minerals on our land, conquered all the oil on our land, and this land is really you the birthright to this land. We, the melanated people, put it that way.
What's crazy is, uh, parents, we need to have our kids put down these video games, get off of social media, and have real conversations with them and some of the elders in the family. Because that's how I learned a lot of history about my family. Just talking to the elders in my family. They shared a lot of wisdom in history. And a lot of times now kids are too busy to talk to their grandmothers or their great uncles or their great aunts to find out the history of their families. And we have lost values because we don't value the importance of that. But it's very important to know who you are and where you come from, because we are lost, and that's a part of healing. That's a part of healing our community, figuring out who we are and where we come from, and how great we are as a people. How you feel about that, Sean?
That's good, dude. That's good stuff, man. I mean, I think that we should teach our kids, and because I look at it like this with my father, he told me some things about my family history, and you know, it was later in life. They were kind of bits and pieces of history, and I mean, it was. I mean, truthfully, we were our ancestors were adopted um, by some Irish folk. That's why I have the last name that I have. So, but it's it's very important that you learn as much as you can about your family's history, so that when it comes time for you to teach your kids and let have them have a some kind of background to draw some information from, then that will be is very pertinent to their learning and seeking the knowledge of who they truly are.
So, interesting enough, when you look up black people on Chat GPT, this is what it says. Black Native Americans, also known as Afro Indigenous, excuse me,
Indigenous.
indigenous or black Indians, are a complex group with history shaped by intermarriage between Native American tribes and enslaved or free Africans. That's crazy. That is crazy.
Eh, if you finish, you mind if I interject with
Go
a
ahead. Go
question
ahead, sir.
asked by Tamika in the live chat?
I just saw
She's asked, how do we heal from where we are today, or what steps should we do as a community to heal from? And I'm assuming she's saying our the issues of the past.
how do we heal? Hill for the day, in my opinion, just this is we need to start conversations. We need to talk about what's going on in the community. I think Roe said it best last week. We need people to show up at Little League football games, at Little League baseball games, at cheering practice. And we need to be present and start having these difficult conversations with our youth. Start holding not just uh, community events to sell chicken wings and to sell T-shirts, but setting up programs in the community for the youth and for the families. It's a lot of broken families in our community. We need to start figuring out how to mend that bridge, and we need to get people invested in joining in and help fix that problem. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and just like just like what we're doing now, just having conversations and starting a dialogue with one another, and I like with your people's D and Chris, when they was telling you about how y'all ancestors came up and stuff like that. I remember that they had a conversation, which I can't remember which relatives that they were, but I know they were at y'all uncle's house, and they just
My
started
cousin,
talking about that, and
that's my cousin.
I thought that was real good because it gave you a real, a background to how y'all family, y'all family history.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
one of my cousins. That's pretty
we
dope.
have always been positive people and thrived in positive environments. We need to uplift each other by pushing positivity upon each other. We need to educate our future children. We need to let them know. We need to study our true history instead of letting somebody give us their own narrative of who we are. A lot of times, everything you done read about, we are. I mean, if you go back into history, most times when they tell you about the Jews, they tell you about the Israelites, they tell you about the Egyptians, they tell you about the Moors, they tell you about the Indians, they tell you about all these greatness all the times in different ages. 9 times out of 10, they talking about us. They reclassified us then, they reclassifying us now. Anything you read, because we was here first. You can most people don't want to acknowledge that. They want to hide these facts from you. And if you go to any country right now, I don't care they look Asian, you're gonna find black. I don't care if you go to Australia, you're gonna find black. You go to China, you're gonna find black. You go to Japan, you're gonna find black. This is the stuff they are hiding from you. And these same people that when I say some of these people that when I say you're gonna find black, they ain't living in the city. They still living like natives. They been here. They been here. So now you got to question who did these other people evolve from? Because these people still living like regular natives. They never changed their narrative. They never changed, and they darker than me. But every country, every you can go to Russia, you gonna find them black the same way. But this is the stuff that they hide in history that they don't want to show us. On every continent, you're gonna find the same thing.
Well, you
But
know what's crazy? Go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Chris.
man.
Go ahead and finish.
No,
No,
I'm
go ahead
not
and
gonna
finish.
finish really.
You know what's crazy to me? Um, no matter where we go, what country, what continent, people are always fascinated by us. If you think about it, like if you go to Germany and you listen to different soldiers of color that went to visit Germany, those people over there love people of color, love black people. If you go to Japan, they're so fascinated by the way we look, how our hair is. You go to any country in the world, people are always fascinated by us. Even when you talk about countries of color like Haiti or Africa or or even like Puerto Rico, even though that's a part of the United States territory. When you think about it, our culture here in the States, they're fascinated by it. They are. Now they may come over and they may form a different opinion about us once they get here and they become accustomed to how we're living over here, but they are fascinated by Black Americans, and that's so interesting to me because they think more of us than we think of ourselves, and that's a problem. That is a problem, man. I mean, it's like we are stars to the rest of the world, but here in America, we look down on ourselves.
I mean,
That is crazy to me.
we just because we such an innovative people. I mean, we have such we can do so much with so little. You know, we that's I think that's a real superpower there. You know, to work with so little and create so much. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, you know, we excel at everything. I mean, you know, and just thinking about how we've built nations, you know what I mean? And it was never about how about conquering. It was just about coming together and creating something and building up, you know, building up everywhere we go, building, you know, positive relationships with in every area of the world that we've ever touched in. It's always been about positivity and growth.
But how do we take that positivity that translates all around the world and bottle that up and distribute that here in the United States, in our own communities, and get our youth to see this superpower that we have? That's the question.
It it's not hard. It just take the right people. And it just take the right people to stand up and show them who we are. I mean, it's so many great individuals, men and women out here that we have like let people uh make us and put these images out on us that's not even real, or we fall in other people's characteristics that's not really part of our nature. I mean, I study nature all day long. We were loving people. We helped each other. We even invited other peoples on this continent. We always tried to educate. We showed them how to make vegetation. We showed them how to garden. We showed them how to survive. We showed them how we did. And the problem is, we always have been so loving and caring and nurturing. Today, it's like if you actually say this now, we have become we like transformed to another characteristic, and we should be grateful knowing who we are. We don't know who we are. That's the biggest issue. But when you learn who you are, just like I've been learning for a while, you know, because I talk to my mama, I talk to my aunts, I talk to everybody, and I'm grateful that I had my grandma in my life, and I got educated by what they told me. And like if when I was in school, and I'm not gonna lie, I believe the teacher, because the teacher was so adamant in showing these books, and I'm reading this book, and my grandmama telling me one narrative that we were Indians, and I'm looking at my teacher, I was still fighting that what my grandmama said because I wanted to hold on to black power. And for those who don't know, and another brainwashing program was Roots, which was fabricated, and you could pull up the information that Alex Haley lied about the historical story about Roots. Roots wasn't even true, and that came out in the 70s when I was little. So I'm looking at Chicken George and all this, and Kunta Kinte. I'm thinking these stories are real, and it's making you think you from Africa, because this is when really Africa, everybody was proud to be from Africa, blew up right then during that era when Roots came out, and to come find out that it was plagiarized and it was made up and was written by really a white man who wrote a book, and Alex Haley bit his book, and that white man sued him, and none of that story was true. And it's even information that even caught Alex Haley saying his mama was like a Cherokee Indian, or his grandmama was. Now, where did the roots come in at? But this is the nerd of how the programming, when we watching TV, we believe in half of the stuff they're giving us, and then they writing these books. And none of the ancestors wrote these books, but some of them wrote books on slavery because some of the people were in bondage here, especially in Mississippi, probably in Alabama, and all these certain places. They did, it was people. But my question is, it had to be trillionaires already here to own all these plantations and to buy all these slaves for all these trillions of slaves to be over here. And had it cost money to get these boats to fly, go all the way over there to Africa. I mean masses of boats, throw 150 to 500 people chained up on top of each other, and then bring them all the way over here and taking over 6 months to get over here, and they all changed up. They ain't crippled. They got feces and all this stuff on them. They come over here, and then you put them on a block, and they nice and healthy. Ain't nobody died for no disease being out there on that water, coming all the way over here for 6 months just to get over here to be sold when you got a continent full of nothing but melanated people. But they let somebody else tell us the story. They did this all the time. They went over there to the shores of Africa, snatching people, putting them all on the boats, hundreds at a time, then coming all the way over here and then selling them. Let's see, can we put some animals without even feeding them, chaining them up, and see how much of the product we're going to get. Now, they don't even, this is the crazy thing. Why they don't take the boats now back and forth to Africa like they used to do back then? Why do we don't use that same trail doing products? I've never seen a cargo ship going from Africa back to America the same way. Well, I mean, what's going on with that now?
That's crazy because the technology is much more than it was back then. But I mean, to your point, if you think about it, a lot of these Europeans that own these plantations didn't have the funds to have slaves back then. They just didn't. They didn't have the money to have slaves. So, you know, a lot of the stuff that we're learning, you got to remember this is his story. It's not our story. It's his story. And they're telling us these things, and we just run and just spread the story like they want us to do. You know, you just got to think about it. We are creators, which shows that we are the original people. No one can even figure out who built the pyramids. Who do you think created all that? All the evidence points to who? Us. That's who. We create so many things that they take credit for. And what kills me is no matter how much you find out about what we do as a people, you still believe what? His story. And I don't get that. And I'm not saying I have all the answers. I just know I can't believe everything that his story tells us. That's all I'm saying. I would say do research. And that's why it's important to talk to the elders in your family. So you can find out about you and your story. So you don't have to listen to his story to get information about your people. It starts with you. And that's, you know, the answer to Mika's question. It starts with you. Start in your household. Start educating your family. Start helping your family realize where they come from and their greatness. And that should trickle over. The other thing is, let's bring community back. We in this age today that when our kids go out and do something wrong, you don't want nobody else saying nothing to your kids. When people from my age group, when we were growing up and we were outside and somebody saw us doing wrong, we can be chastised by that individual and go home and get chastised by our own parents. But no, we don't want nobody saying nothing to our kids. We don't want nobody touching our kids. We don't want nobody directing our kids. And what that teaches the child is they can't say nothing to me. So they have a lack of respect for the elders in their own community. When did we become so separate? I know when it happened, but how do we get back to being a community? You want to heal the community, but you don't want to be a part of the community. That makes no sense. Because this is my thing. If you see a child doing something wrong and you're not allowed to address it or you don't address it, a year later, that same child could be robbing your house, could be stealing your car, could be murdering your family member. And it's all because you turn a blind cheek to that. See, the thing is, when we grew up, most of the kids in the neighborhood, the elders knew them. But now, you got neighborhoods that we live in and we don't even know our own neighbor. Something happens and your neighbor turns a blind cheek because they don't know you. Or because you had some altercation with them over something stupid. Like them parking a car in front of your house. Or them walking on your grass.
Don't tread on my lawn.
Community. We got to get back to this community. We have lost that. That's a part of healing.
I mean, yeah, it's if we're speaking on the neighbor, I mean, it's we need to get back to just acknowledging the fact that, hey, we're all here together. I mean, okay, if you, depending on how or where you reside, it depends on what factors that go into how you being, what place is going to welcome you, or how you feel when you're in that area. Whatever area you go to, let's say for instance, if it's predominated by another color, if it depends on how that area receives you, because you want to have a village wherever you live. So it's gonna be it's a juggling act when you going into another community, that's predominantly of another color. I mean, with your community, of course, you want to have a closer bond with those people that look like you. But I mean, it's in in everything we have to look at the positives and negatives, because you're never going to go into a community where it's going to be totally good, but you want to have a notion of trying to be a part of the building and elevating of that community. You don't want to just be a bystander and looking and saying, "Hey, I just, whatever happens, it happens." Let's not look at it like that. Look at it from a standpoint of, I know that. I mean, even the little things of maybe saying, "Hey, if you see a kid out there, they may be walking aimlessly, hey, look, hey, make sure you get home safe," or something like that. Even just addressing them and letting them know that, hey, you see them and you acknowledge that they are there. That could even turn the tide of what might be going on with a person, child, whatever. Just be actively involved in engaging the people that are around you.
Well, let's address that for a second right now. When things jump off nowadays, when a person of color is involved and something happens, just say police brutality is taking place. Well, one of the first things people do, they take
I,
out their phones and start recording.
well,
If you
I
see a
mean,
fight, you take out your phones and start recording. But why is that?
that this is, you got to think about because I mean we've talked about this in previous discussions about how we're in a culture of social media where everybody likes to just kind of like say pull out that phone and give people a right now look at what's going on. And like, I mean, because me and Chris talked about it where you're seeing all these pictures of people in extreme situations where they're being harmed, or even killed just to get views and likes. We have to recognize that we got to get out of that notion of, oh, I want to be the one that get these likes and views, because it's that's just uh a platform. You just putting yourself on a platform to just show somebody something of that you could have been a party to help, instead of just being I don't even want to say reporter. I just say a filmer, because it's almost like we're creating a reality TV for social media. So where everything is seen and the drama is out there, but it's real life and someone's really dealing with a stressing or harmful issue to their life and those around them. So it's we need to kind of involve ourselves within the whole thing. Because even if, like y'all said, even in the extreme conditions, it's a period that's before that extreme condition where they can come on and say, or they can engage somebody or talk to somebody, or at least let somebody know that they're there. Because I've been guilty of this too at times. You just walk on the street, walk around the street, pass somebody, just like that. You don't acknowledge them. You don't say nothing. You just go about your way because, hey, you don't want to engage that person, or you don't want to talk to that person because you don't know what that person is, who this person is, or what they're doing, what they're about. All you know is, hey, look, this is just somebody I see on the other side. You know,
Yeah,
of course.
and that's crazy. There's this stereotype that black people don't get along. I believe we as a black people, that's not true. That's just not true. If you think about it, me as a black man, if I go somewhere and say it's mostly white in the area that I am, when I see a black person, black person sees me, guess what? We're going to acknowledge each other. So it's not a matter of us not getting along. That's not what happens. I think a lot of times, through social media, through entertainment, we are put against each other, and we have always shown butting heads. If you think about some of the shows, and Ro talked about it last week, the housewives and the basketball wives, and you have these different shows. And even in social media, you got the Drake beef with Lamar. You got all these things going on, so you have all this negativity shown, but they rarely show situations of love and appreciation in the black community. I know here in Atlanta we had a couple of weeks ago 404 weekend, and they do. It's a neighborhood not far from here, in Southwest Atlanta. They do a neighborhood cookout every year, and everybody from past and present come together. We have, excuse me, we have these things that are celebrated amongst the black community, but they don't talk about it. Even if you go back to the 90s when Atlanta housed Freaknik. And I bring that up because black people from all over the United States came to Freaknik.
Mhm.
And it was a celebration amongst black people. You had a few incidents here and there, but most of it, and Chris can attest to that, most of it was black people showing each other love. Now there were
Definitely
incidents
showing
where
love.
law enforcement came in and created hysteria, but it wasn't about us creating that environment.
Right.
And it's crazy that
Um,
there's this belief in our community that we can't get along. Go ahead, Chris.
Like kind of went out.
Yeah, he went out. I don't know what happened.
and
But
just
I mean,
working with each other. The
Oh
thing
yeah,
with
he went
I must, the thing I wanted to say is this. I like I said, I'm fortunate, and I know Derek fortunate. We even the other day I talked to my mom, and she was asking me, do I remember my great great grandma? And I told her, yeah, I remember, and I told her where she stayed. The thing was, I remember, and she was saying what her grandma, my great great grandmama was, and I'm glad that I had people to give me my lineage, and I now respect who I am and what I have learned, even though I've been told over and over from other coaches and other people, even when they ask me, "Who are you?" I don't put down African American. I put down other, because I want them to know that I honor my ancestors, and I know who they were, instead of me being told something different. And another problem, like Derek saying back in the day, we had a community to show love. Today, people don't have the care for each other. You could tell how people love the community. They picked up the trash. They wanted the community to look good in everybody yard. I mean, if somebody were old and couldn't cut the grass, you see somebody run over there to help them and make sure the yard was done. It was so much love in the community. So when we talked about the village, it was a whole different village when we grew up, man. It was nothing but love. People that had extra like pear trees or plum trees or apple trees. They will bring baskets to the people in the neighborhood just to share the trees and the fruits of their trees. It was a whole different atmosphere, man. And then people didn't have problem disciplining somebody else's child because they respected that because the name of that family went a long way. You couldn't act a certain way going out here acting like a hooligan and them people knew you. You made you put a bad stigma for your family, your mama, your daddy, your grandmama. Today is a whole different time, man. It's like they have manifested a time when we really don't care about each other. That the only thing you care about maybe is your child, but you really don't care about the next door neighbor's child. You don't care because it's not your child. You don't care if the next door neighbor get murdered because it ain't you or your daddy or family member getting murdered. But in the past, it was so much love in the community, man. And you wonder what can we do? We got to first change our perception of how we think and how we feel among each other. I'm not at war with my neighbor. I'm not at war with half of the stuff that goes on. The problem is I'm put in a position and I'm playing against a position because somebody want us to fight and murder each other. It's easy to take out people when somebody want us to purge each other out. They want us to fight and kill each other. And you trying to reach these children who carrying these guns, man. This is something that was already predestined, man. This is something that's been programmed. And we trying to reach communities and we trying to get on this platform and talk and spill our hearts out because I'm concerned. I don't like the way the future look because it's looking grim and dark to me. I want the future to look bright.
You know what's crazy,
I,
Chris? I
I want
always
to
share
know
a story.
when I lay my head to rest, at least my
Oh, he went out. He going in and out.
yeah.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, I want to share this story real quick. I always share this story. One thing about my dad and my family on my dad's side, uh, he owned a city block, and I always tell this story. He owned a city block, and my grandmother had a house on that block. My dad had a house. He had a lot, and he had a garden. My grandfather and my dad had a garden in the middle of a neighborhood, and they grew several different things in that garden. And they took care of the garden, and they would harvest all these fruits and vegetables, and they would give it out to the community. My dad not only did that, he would take us crabbing and fishing. We would catch fish and crabs, and he would bring them back and give that stuff away to the community. I mean, where is that now? Why we don't have that type of behavior now? I'm not saying that no one does it, but we just don't see enough of that. Is what I'm saying.
uh,
Go ahead,
yeah.
Raymond.
No, I think like I said, is we should address our individual issues that we have, stemming from the trauma that we've come from being, you know, enslaved to subjugated to oppressed to left with little you know things taken. We need to address the traumas that we dealt with and look for ways to heal from them by acknowledging one that they happen, and two that the fact that it's even though we've gone through it, that we know that we are resilient and we can do better. It's just we have to allow ourselves to know that those things that have been put upon us, it wasn't our fault. It wasn't our doing. Acknowledge the fact that, hey, we even though it happened, we can teach our kids that it's not about um, the hurt, but it's about the resilience, the strength, the conviction, the drive to continue to be more than what is being told and being explained or written about us, and all what is shown on TV, all it is just a facade, a over exaggerated picture of what is more fiction than it is fact.
True. We also need to work with our black educators. Um, who better to teach our kids than people from our own community? We often, as parents, want our kids to go to the best schools, so we send them to other communities to go to school. The difference is, in those other communities, the parents are very visual at the schools, making sure that the teachers and the administrators are doing their job. And I know it's hard, especially for single parent households, but we can implement the same practices in our own community, where we not only send our kids to black schools with black educators, but we demand that same excellence in our own community. We have to be visual, we have to be responsible, and we have to be persistent to make sure our kids get what they need from our educators.
Yeah,
Chris, you back?
Oh wait, I had faded out. Y'all couldn't
Yeah,
hear me.
you had faded
yeah.
out.
Let me just insert this one thing as well. Like, a part of the process is, like I said, being willing to address it to a professional, and being willing to open up about those traumas to someone that's willing to guide you in a straight and narrow path to, to that proper healing is always another avenue to go to as well. So never, don't overlook a professional counselor or whoever.
That's an excellent point, sir. You got something, Chris?
I'm gonna say this: our children need to see us love each other, not hate and fight each other. This is to the people my age and maybe a little younger. We got to lead by examples. We got to be leaders again. It's not about I'm better than the next man. Stop being like crabs in a barrel trying to pull a person down. Let's uplift people. Let's try to change the narrative. If maybe they see us better, then maybe they'll become better. But sometimes they only follow what they see. And it starts in a household. Every decision we do, if they see, like me and Derek talked about our father, it was some characteristics that we both picked up from our father, because we seen our father, our grandmother, our granddaddies, we seen them do things that made us follow the leader and do the same thing as we mature. So I know how to be accountable for myself and do things. Now, as far as loving somebody, that's because you got to show love to get love. Sometimes you got to show respect to get respect. We are in an age now that we are just letting things manipulate us, and we in our emotions, and we in our feelings, and we always angry, and we got depression, and we got anxiety. It's sometimes just changing the way you eat. I tell people right now, if you got anxiety, you depressed, take ashwagandha. It's so many things we can do that can help us to make us feel better, to think better, have clarity, and just change our diet so we can have a good state of mind. Sometimes what you eat can even affect how you think. A lot of people might not believe that, but that's facts. Sometimes you eat better, you think better. You feel better, you live better. And right now, I think we're in an age we just need to help people. We need to help the community. We need to help the children. And we need to learn who we are. We are greatness at the finest point. We are leaders. We always been kings, queens. We are gods and goddesses. So now, right now, in this day and age, we need to acknowledge who we are and walk in our greatness.
That is true. The healing process starts with an individual who can begin to assess where the issues stem from when the individuals within the community have gone through generation after generation of trauma. They need to heal from it and begin to lessen the trauma from the generations to come. With that being said, you know what it is. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Get established. Peace.
This has been the Get Established Show Live. Please join us on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram,